Hey everybody, welcome to Love and Best Dishes with Paula Deen. I'm Bobby Deen, today filling in for my mom. And today we're gonna make a recipe that comes from my mom's website. It is a cheesy shrimp dip. So you can imagine that it's gonna be really decadent and rich and probably buttery and very, very good. So let's get started. I've got a medium skillet warming and we're gonna start with half a stick of butter, imagine that. So we're gonna melt that butter down, which is happening pretty quick here. Half a stick, let's see, we're off to a rich start. Very rich. And when we add our sour cream and mayonnaise to the dish, it's gonna make it even more rich and I'm sure fantastic. But there are ways, you know, that you can lighten things up. In fact, I made a good living lightening up my mom's recipes for quite a while. And probably the way I would start, if I wanted to lighten this recipe up, is maybe use half that amount of butter. Good morning. Speaking of the butter queen, there she is.
My ears was burning.
I'm sure they were. This is a great looking recipe.
What are you cooking up good this week?
I'm making your cheesy shrimp dip. Are you hungry?
Oh, yes. I'm always hungry.
Half a stick of butter. I need a bigger skillet. But I'm sure it's going to be delicious. All right, so
Cheese and shrimp, of course it's going to be delicious.
cheese, shrimp, butter, sour cream, mayonnaise. The shrimp is probably the least amount of anything in the recipe besides the bell pepper. All right, so to our melted butter, we're going to add some bell pepper, beautiful red pepper. I'm going to turn it up just a little bit. I started off on low. I'm going to turn it up to maybe kind of a little medium low, and get our peppers kind of married to that butter. Well, married, they're swimming. Swimming in the butter. But it already just smells fantastic. You know, people, we were talking, Teresa and I were talking before we started to cook this recipe. And we were talking about how, you know, ways that you might lighten it up. And we talked about maybe using light sour cream or a light mayonnaise or, you know, really, what I do is just probably cut down on the, you know, the major culprits. Maybe just use less of them. But then we got to the butter, and Teresa said, "Well, what would be a good butter substitute?" And I said,
There ain't.
"Exactly." I said, "Nothing. I mean, butter's wonderful. It gets a bad rap, but it's really, really great."
You know, I said God made the cow, and the cow made the butter, and God don't make mistakes.
What a tease! We could have an impersonator here, and you'd never know the difference. What a tease to be able to hear her voice, but to not be able to see her. For you, I'm sure. But I'm looking right at her.
Your mouth to moving like mine.
And she's, what's that? Well, I got to know what you're going to say.
I just said it.
Okay.
God made the cow, and the cow made the butter, and God don't make mistakes.
There you go. She's not camera ready, if you're wondering. She looks like she... No, I did not. You look like you're...
Brush my hair.
Did you brush your teeth?
No.
All right, so our peppers are doing really well with our butter here. You got to be careful with butter because butter burns. We definitely don't want to burn it. All right, now to that I'm going to add some green onion. Yeah, now I can hear it and smell it. This is a really good base. You know, when you make a nice rich recipe like this, or really any recipe, you build it, you know, from the bottom up, and you sort of just meld it together, you know, and that butter and those peppers are going to make a really nice base, and then the onions are going to add another layer of flavor to it and make that base even better. So whenever you taste the recipe, it should taste it should taste like you built it from the ground up. It should taste rich, and it should taste complete and all married together. You shouldn't have raw or sort of take a bite in it, or you shouldn't have inconsistencies in it. It should all be really consistent. In this recipe, believe me, I've had it before, and I know that it's very, very good. And we're real fortunate to live in a great part of the country where we have access to good, fresh, local seafood, and we've got beautiful shrimp that we can get practically right out of our backyard. So how lucky are we? And if you don't have that where you live, I'm sure that you have a good local fishmonger or a fish market or a grocery store where you can get access to maybe even some shrimp that's maybe out of Florida and never been frozen or anything like that. Okay, so our peppers and our onions. What does Mama want us to do next? She says to stir in the shrimp and cook it until the shrimp are pink and firm. Okay, so we've got our shrimp here, and we've cut them up into really small, fine pieces here. And it smells like the ocean, which is what good, fresh seafood should smell like. So this won't take very long. Shrimp cooks up really quick. Now I don't want to beat that shrimp up or chop it into smaller pieces than it already is. So I'm just going to sort of fold it in here and make sure that it all hits the bottom of the skillet and catches in with that butter. This is already smelling so good. Wonderful. So I'm going to let that go for just a minute, and I'll come back and start. I'm going to wash my hands real quick, Ed. Excuse me. So maybe that's actually this is a good time to, why don't we wash our hands and take a short break, and we'll come right back. Okay, so we're cooking our shrimp, and this has been about 2 minutes. We added the shrimp. You'll remember we started off with a half stick butter, which is basically a 1/4 cup. We added in some red pepper and some green onion, and then our beautiful fresh Georgia shrimp that's chopped into pieces. And for about 2 minutes now, I've been stirring it into this skillet over medium, and it looks and smells just wonderful. I know that's a lot of butter, but butter and shrimp go together hand in hand. So our shrimp is pink, and it's beginning to firm up a little bit. So to our recipe, we're going to add a cup of sour cream. And we'll fold that into. That sour cream is going to make this rich, buttery dish even richer. So let's fold in that sour cream without beating up our shrimp any more than we have to. I could have used a bigger skillet, but we'll make it happen. Ed, you sound like you got something to say.
No, I was going to say that's exactly what Teresa said. And that's the one I put up.
Okay, well, thanks, Ed. We'll make it happen. Okay, so that sour cream very, very quickly broke down. And it's looking really, really good. Gosh, I wish y'all could smell this. It smells so good. Now to that, we're going to add 2 different types of cheeses. We've got a shredded cheddar. Okay. Uh-oh, you know what? Sorry. I forgot. Mayonnaise. A 1/2 cup of mayonnaise. So that mayonnaise and sour cream. Woof, buddy. And a 1/2 stick of butter. This dish is either right up your alley or it's not. but I can promise you it's going to be good. This is definitely a Paula Deen dish, no question about it. Now, if you want to try to lighten this up, you can. And the way that I would do it would maybe just to play with the amounts a little bit, but you want the consistency too. So remember that if you cut back on the mayo and the sour cream, the consistency may not be the same. But this is not the complete dish right here either. We've got another step in the cooking process, and you can probably guess what it is. All right, so we've added in our sour cream, our mayonnaise, our shredded cheddar cheese, and now to that we're gonna add in some Parmesan. Ooh, look at that. We're gonna add in some Parmesan cheese. Oh boy. Some of my favorite things here. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and turn this way down to low and just get those cheeses to melt and meld in there with this dish. And this, I know I've said it already a few times, but it smells so good. So good. I don't know why this recipe doesn't call for some crumbled buttery crackers on top, but it doesn't. And if you wanted to do that, you could. You know what kind of crackers I'm talking about. You could just crumble them up right on the top when you do what we're going to do next, which is, okay, that looks great, which is put our mixture into a oven-safe baking dish. Here we go. This one happens to be round. It's perfect for a dip. I guess it doesn't call for a cracker crust top because the way to eat this is going to be with crackers. Maybe some pita chips or whatever your favorite cracker is. Oh man, that smells amazing. Okay, beauty, all right? So everything in our oven-safe dish looks great. We're gonna pop that in the oven for about 30 minutes until it's golden brown, and voila. Okay, so we'll take a short break. Okay, everybody, this seafood dip came out of the oven really thin. No way around it, okay? Super, super thin. Too thin. So, Mom, my suggestion to you and what I did, there is a great product out there called Wondra. And it is a flour, it's a non-clumping flour that you can use to make gravies and different things like that. I added a teaspoon, or more like, I guess closer to a tablespoon, of this Wonder flour, and I mixed and mixed and mixed and mixed and mixed. And it finally got to be a really nice consistency. I'll show you. I've got some butter crackers here. When I pulled this out of the oven, it was much more like a soup. And it even broke a little bit. But that Wonder flour fixed it right up. It saved the day, you might say. So let's see how it tastes. So good. Now, ooh.
French bread.
I miss my mama's recipes
I bet you do.
because I don't eat like this very much. So rich, so decadent and delicious. Now, let's talk about it. Came out thin. It's a dip, so it's not supposed to be super, super thick. But it came out too thin. So again, my suggestion to Mom is to add a little bit of this Wondra to it before you bake it, which I did. So I think that we should even change the recipe probably on the website to include the tablespoon of Wondra into this recipe. It saved the day, and this is a really, really good seafood dip, but without the Wondra, it does come out a little bit thin. So just food for thought, and that is delicious. Thanks, y'all.
Hey y'all, it's Paula Deen. Now, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like it and click the subscribe button as well as the notification bell to be alerted when I post a video. Love and best dishes, y'all.